Okay, let's just dive right in. If you're trying to level up your productivity, maybe even hit that first million, what we're about to go through might actually flip your whole approach on its head. We're going to break down the 7 productivity hacks from entrepreneur Iman Gadzhi. But here's the twist. The big takeaway isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about doing way, way less.
Whoa. Yeah, he's definitely not pulling any punches here, is he? What Ghazi's really getting at is how our best intentions, trying to learn and get better, can backfire and send us straight down a rabbit hole of just wasting time. It's this trap of just consuming, always hoping that next piece of content will be the magic key. He says that's just not how it works.
And this, right here, lays out the problem so perfectly. See, Gadzhi says there are basically 2 kinds of people who end up spinning their wheels and getting nowhere. You've got the passive scroller on one side, just completely lost in a haze of TikToks and YouTube videos. But then on the other side, you've got this self-help junkie whose morning routine is so crazy complicated it's practically a full-time job in itself, and they just wiped out by 10 a.m. Both roads, he says, lead to the exact same place. Absolutely nothing gets done.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to really understand this productivity trap. Then, we'll get into the actual practical steps you can take to reclaim your focus, get rid of that mental fog called decision fatigue, and seriously simplify your daily life. And we'll tie it all together with the mindset that really makes this whole system click. All right, let's kick things off with the absolute foundation. Because before any of these hacks will work, you have to make a really important shift in how you think. It's all about being brutally honest with yourself about what you're doing when you're consuming content.
So check this out. Active learning, that's when you have a real problem and you go looking for a specific answer. Like, I need to run a marathon. How do I avoid getting injured? That's real learning. Everything else, just scrolling through your YouTube feed, listening to some random podcast, even reading most self-help books. Gadzhi argues that's not learning. That's just entertainment dressed up to look like productivity.
And that quote just nails it, doesn't it? The whole point isn't to stuff your brain with more and more information. Is to find those few golden pages, those key insights, and then actually do something with them. You don't get successful by knowing more things, you get successful by applying what you know.
Okay, so if application is the name of the game, how in the world do you find the time and focus to actually apply anything? Well, that brings us to our first set of hacks. This is all about wrestling back control from the algorithms that are literally designed to hijack your brain. It's time to build a fortress around your focus.
First up, grab a simple browser extension for YouTube called Unhook. Seriously, this is a game changer. It gets rid of the addictive stuff, the home feed, the recommended videos, the comments, so you have to consciously search for what you want to watch. It puts you in charge. Next, and he's super direct about this one, delete TikTok. Just get rid of it. Unless you are literally making a profit from it, the price you pay in lost attention is just not worth it. And finally, on Instagram, get comfortable with the mute button. Mute stories, mute posts. Your focus is a precious resource, and you need to protect it like a hawk.
So once you've tidied up your digital space, it's time to do the same for your physical world. Think of your brain power like your phone's battery. Every little decision you make, what should I wear, what am I going to eat, it just drains a little bit of that charge. These next hacks are all about saving that precious mental energy for the big stuff.
Now, I know this sounds a little extreme, but it really gets to the core of his philosophy. He's not saying you can never enjoy food again. What he is saying is that on a normal workday, things like what you eat for lunch shouldn't be a big, complicated decision. It should just be fuel, simple, practical, and designed to help you perform.
Okay, so here are the 2 big automations. First, the personal uniform. You create a simple go-to outfit for your workdays. And he's big on this. Wear real clothes, not pajamas. It sends a signal to your brain that it's time to get serious. That's one less decision to make. Second, meal prep. Just eat the same thing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all week. It completely removes that daily debate of what's for dinner and frees up all that mental space. And the payoff here is just massive. It's not just about saving a few minutes. Every little choice adds up to this thing called decision fatigue. So by cutting out all these tiny, repetitive decisions, you're literally saving your brain power. You're feeling less drained, and you're building this awesome sense of momentum that you can then pour into the work that actually, matters. Now let's talk about the final set of hacks, because this is where it all comes together. This is about designing your day so that being productive is the easiest, most natural path to follow. It's all about removing the friction.
So, those crazy morning routines you see online? The ones with 15 steps that start at 5 a.m. and take 4 hours? Yeah, forget all that. That's the myth.
He argues that a routine that complicated is more likely to burn you out than set you up for success. The reality is something much simpler. A routine with just 3 core steps that takes less than 90 minutes and actually leaves you feeling energized and ready to go.
So here they are, the last 3 hacks. First, plan your next day the night before. Just jot down the 3 to 5 most important things you need to get done. This tells your brain what to focus on. Second, create your own simple 3-step morning routine. His is a cold plunge, a shower, and then coffee while he thinks. Yours could be anything, as long as it's simple. And finally, lay out your clothes the night before. I know it sounds tiny, but taking away that one last decision in the morning makes everything smoother, especially if you're trying to get a workout on.
Okay, so we've covered the digital hacks, the physical hacks, and the daily routine hacks. But now let's zoom all the way out and talk about the big idea, the one principle that holds this entire philosophy together.
And before we get to that big idea, I just want you to look at this number for a second. 10. 10 years. This stuff isn't just some theory he read in a book. This is what he's learned from a decade of being in the trenches, building businesses, and figuring out what works and what's just fluff. Everything we've talked about is what's left after a decade of trial and error.
And this right here, this is the absolute key to everything. The real path to being more productive and more successful isn't about adding more apps, more books, or more steps to your routine. It's the exact opposite. It's about subtraction. It's about being ruthless and cutting out everything that doesn't move you closer to your goal. It's about creating space for the deep, focused work that actually makes a difference.
And you can tell he means it when he says this. He's not trying to call anyone out. He's just being totally honest about the tough lessons he's learned over a decade. This is the real-world truth, stripped of all the self-help nonsense. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. After hearing all of this, what's one little thing, one small decision that you can get rid of starting tomorrow? Maybe it's what you wear, maybe it's what you eat, maybe it's just not opening a certain app first thing in the morning. What's one thing you can cut out to make more room for what truly matters to you?